What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions.
I mean, it's a 911 tape. How they expect you to sound? Of course you're gonna be scared. It's an emergency. There's nobody calls 911 cool and relaxed. That shit would sound ridiculous. Hello, emergency. Hi. Hey, 911, how are you? Yeah. Look, there's a group of hooded white men gathering outside of my house, and it looks like they mean business. Get out here, nigger! I gotta go. You guys try and hurry.
Good day or evening to everyone out there in the decoding world. My name is Logan, and this is Decode Your Reality, and today we're going to be breaking down and decoding the Emergency 911. Of course, for the United States, the 911 Emergency Decoded. And folks, what I'm about to show you will be absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt that mankind is being used, and we're just following the script that was already written before each and every one of us got here. I will show you with ironclad, convincing support on what I'm about to show you with this presentation. Folks, this one was going to blow your freaking doors off. So share it with people, show them what's up. Most people are not going to get it because they think they have all this free will. And, I'm not here to debate if you have any. You may have a little bit of free will, but folks, the events that are going to be included in this presentation will show you that they did not have a choice. They had to be a part of the creation and the orchestration of the emergency 911 that we press on the telephone for emergencies. And I want you to just realize, folks, this has to do with energy. Every time someone calls 911 for the emergency, the energy goes somewhere. We live in a battery, folks. We support our battery. I've been saying this over and over. Man is being used. And I'm going to show you with ironclad, absolutely ironclad convincing evidence that we're being used. So here we go, folks. Put on a pair of headphones. Get immersed in this pleasant presentation. Block out the outside world, folks. This one's going to be a lot of fun, but man, I don't know what else to say at this point anymore. I mean, if you weren't convinced on all the almost 200 videos I have out there on man being used, on all of us just, fulfilling the script, well, this one is definitely going to put a nail in the coffin. So in the zero position, the intro, which is what I'm doing now, I have one slide to fulfill that. In the number one position, the first call. Of course, it's all about the first call. When the first call took place, the dates, everything surrounding it. Number two, it happened on February 16th, so we're going to talk about that date. Number three, the city and state of where it happened. And number four, of course, February 16th is the 216, which is the divine triangle. And for those of you that are into the advanced decoding, you're going to want to check this one out. Has everything to do with this. And then, of course, in the fifth position, What did you see? Always like to hear what you have to say. So starting off with the intro, I mean, this is what a operator typically says when you dial 911. 911, what's your emergency? And of course, it leads to it's funny though, man, when you look at this code and you start to see how scripted it is, to me, it just gets really hilarious. So I just laugh at it now. Because I think the architect is a comedian. As most of you know, I put those videos out. And I'm going to keep doing it because it's funny. It's not worth doing anything other than laughing. And it's all about lead to gold, and that's what the phone call is all about, you know? The 911 emergency is gold frequency. It's gold currency. And there it is. It's the 79 in the Chaldean 911, what's your emergency? Every time you call them, that's what they say, standard, and it's gold. It's just funny. So let's get into the first call. That was the intro. Let's get into the first call itself. And here was a newspaper clipping that I found online of the actual highlighted first phone call in Haleyville, Alabama. And I circled the 2 p.m. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But these are, at the top left, these are the gentlemen who were in the newspaper, in the photograph. These three guys. And these are the names they went by. B.W. Gallagher, who was the president of the Alabama Telephone Company. You had James Witt, who was the mayor, and then you had Robert Normal in there, who was the manager of the ATC. And, you know, it's interesting because the three guys, their names in the newspaper clipping, notice the subtleties at the top here, 33 letters. That 33 shows up so much. And folks, it's not Masonic, okay? Sure, the Masons use it. People that are in the esoteric use it. But if you've gotten past the point of just saying, well, it's Masonic and it's the 33 folks, congratulations. Because it goes way beyond that. It's in sacred geometry. And that's not Masonic. But nonetheless, it's a 112, which is the mirror of the 211. And that's tied to the 47. But the 112 in the string of pi is, and at the 709th decimal digit, and of course, the zeros in there, you drop that, it's gold again. I mean, the subtlety, but you can't leave it out. And folks, I mean, think about it with these, the newspaper clippings, and then, it ties to what's your emergency in gold, So let's keep going. So I circled at 2 p.m. this newspaper clipping because, of course, 2 p.m. on military time is 1400 hours, and that's 14, and that's the time and the time God. And, of course, Satan equals 14, and it's all tied together with these. But little subtleties, just to have fun with on the beginning of this presentation. And the year that this happened was in 1968, and that's tied to the Tetragrammaton. I'm going to show you that with clear and convincing evidence. It's all wrapped around the Tetragrammaton, folks, which is the time God that owns and operates the box, goes by many names, but clearly the script is written in the script. So here are the two guys that made the phone call and accepted the phone call. I just put two random guys in there, by the way. These aren't the real guys, but it was Rankin Fight, the senator, and then Tom Bevel, the U.S. representative that answered the phone call at the police department in Haleyville. And you'll notice, it's the yin yang. Of course it is. And these aren't their full birth names, but of course in the newspaper articles, they always usually go down and use their professional names. But there it is, Rankin Fight and Tom Bevel making the phone call, and it's a yin-yang, completely balanced, meaning duality. The middleman in between was this guy, James Witt, and he was the man who was involved as the trio here because it was made by Rankin Fight. And it was actually called from the mayor's office, James Witt, and then it was answered by Tom Bevel, the U.S. representative at the police department. So you got to add that guy in there. And of course, when you add the third guy in there as the trio, you get the number 103. And we know that 103, of course, is tied to the 27th prime number, which is tied to the word currency. And of course, in the medicine deck, you have the dragonfly card as the 27th card, of course, because currency is tied to the great dragon that was hurled down. Yeah, that's just the currency of this reality. And we're all part of that dragon. We're all little devils down here. When you take the letters A through Z through the Chaldean, you're going to get the number 103. A through Z in the Chaldean, 103. Tied to currency, tied to the word current. 27th prime number. Make no mistake about it, folks. These guys were involved in currency. That's what it is. It's all tied to the currency. So let's get into the actual day of when the first phone call was made for the 911. February 16th, otherwise known as 216. We're going to get into that. But why this day? Did these guys consciously choose it? Did they pick it on purpose because they knew what day it was? Well, it's really interesting because February 16th is not just any day, folks. It's the 47th day of the year. It's the 47th day of the year, tied to the ancient Israelite god of the Bible, the Tetragrammaton. 47. Remember, Washington, D.C., White House, Georgetown, the university, those all equal the number 47. Just using the Chaldean. I don't have to go beyond that. 47, folks. It's right there. The first phone call is the 47th day of the year. You think man's consciously doing this? Maybe they're doing it. Maybe they were sitting down with Chaldean numerology and they said, well, we got to make the first 911 call and it's got to be the 47th day of the year. Maybe. It's possible. But guess who's getting all that energy tied to that 911? Here's the card that is linked to February 16th. Let's be really transparent. February 16th, here's the boilerplate chart as it's been shown over and over and over. The months run along the top, the days run on vertically along the sides here. And here's the row February, and then the 16th, there it is. It's the 9 diamonds card, February 16th. And that's tied to the February 16th date of when this first completed 911 call was made in Haleyville, Alabama. It's the 9 diamonds card. It's card number 35. Let me be really transparent on that. I don't even have my cards out. Let me pull them up just so we can be really, really transparent. And let's pull them up, folks. Here we go. Cards of Illumination. If you want these graphics, by the way, just send me an email and I'll send them to you. My email is decodeyourreality@gmail.com. But there's the diamonds in the third position, and it's card 35, the 9 diamonds, and that's tied to the actual day. Whoops, that's actually tied. That's another presentation I'm working on. This is tied to the February 16th date, the first phone call made. 35th card is tied to the 35th element, bromine. And of course, look at what bromine's atomic weight is measured in a laboratory. Not just any weight, folks, it's 79, and it's linked, of course, to gold. I mean, how about that? You see, folks, the subtleties that you can't leave out. And this would be something that man would have to incorporate into this whole coding exercise. February 16th, 9 diamonds, 35th card, bromine, 79, gold. We already talked about 911. What's your emergency? It's gold. So you see how strong this code is, folks, and that man could never code this ever in a million years. It's just not possible. Going further, in the medicine deck, the 35th card, looking right here to your right, is the horse card. And that's tied to the 9 diamonds card, and horse, of course, is 22. And what's the 22nd element? It's Saturn's titanium. What's titanium's weight? 47. And you go right back to the 47 and February 16th being the 47th day of the year. You see how all this connects? How many moving parts we can continue to incorporate? And just to prove that man could never code. These were created in 1988. The first phone call was in 1968. 20 years later, and yet the architects of these cards are completely in bed with the cards of illumination, and the people that made these phone calls, and yet they have no association, but they do, because we're seeing it clear right here. It's right there, folks. I'm coming out with a decode on Prison Planet, and this is going to be one of the slides, one of the topics. It's The Godfather. Have you ever seen this movie before? The Godfather. It's won many, 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 many awards. Look at in the bottom left-hand corner. Dude, look at what the release date is, folks. It's not just any day, folks. It's March 14th. That's Pi Day, 314. And the running minutes, of course, 177. There's so many huge nuggets in this. But look at what card it is. March 14th is the same exact card. So let me go to that. Here is March. Go down to Pi Day. There it is. March 14th is the 9 Diamonds card. Same exact card as the card of February 16th. How about that? Now, why am I showing that? Well, because, folks, you see, we're talking about the Godfather. What's the Godfather? Well, you notice what, the logo is. It's a hand with the wooden sticks in the form of an X, by the way, making out clearly the 4 fixed signs in astrology. But that is the X, the X-Men, our X chromosomes, and it's us on strings tied to this 35. And you go right back up. It's tied to the horse card, tied to titanium, the fallen angel story, the Titans. And of course, the tetragrammaton right there, the 47. They're all in bed together, the whole story. And it's all fixed. The whole story was already pre-written before each and every one of us got here. Those are facts now. Those aren't opinions. You can clearly see this. We bring in something that has nothing to do with 911, but it has everything to do with it, because this is a card of control. On Pi Day of all days, you get the 35th card tied to titanium, the fallen angels, the Titans. We're all the Titans. This is us, the Titans, down here in Wonderland. So here's the guy who made the phone call, Rankin Fight, the member of the Alabama House of Representatives. And look at what his birthday is, September 1st, 1916. September 1st, otherwise known as 91. And of course, 91 is what linked to battery. So here's his card, his birth card, September 1st, 10 diamonds. Let me show you that. September 1st, here it is. 10 diamonds, Rankin Fight, the guy who made the phone call. And of course, this is the actual card of the phone call itself, made on February 16th. So you look at this, folks. I mean, they're not just any cards, they're in succession with one another. Now, I know you may scoff and be like, that's not a big deal. That's not really a big deal. But think about it with your common sense. They're both diamonds. And they're both in sequence with one another. 35th and 36th card. The 35th and 36th card. Now, folks, when you get out your calculators and you add up 36 and 35, guess what number you're going to get? You're going to get the number 71. And what is 71, folks? It's just the 20th prime number. And what is 20? Keep your eyes on that Chaldean. It's duality. And where are we at right now, folks? We're all in duality. And where's the 911 first place called? Duality. So these are the subtleties, but when you really can see the code, folks, you can see how ridiculous it is. And this guy was being used as part of the story. It was part of his script. Now, that's not such a bad thing. Some people are I get, a lot of messages like, well, what do we do? It's just discover your code. That's the most important thing you can do. Discover who you are and why you're here. Most of you don't know why you're here and who you really are. And that's, to me, is the lifelong journey. Here is a deeper expression of this. And just let me narrate this now. These cards, here's Rankin Fight, the guy who made the first phone call. He's the 10 diamond, that's the 10. And then here's the phone call, the 9. That you bring those together, that's 109. That's why I'm showing that there. And 109 is a very special number because it's the 29th prime number. 29 is tied to this element right here called copper. Copper has several atomic weights. One of them is 63. And if you go right back to the Chaldean again, and you type in the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, you're going to get, I'm sorry, in the English, you're going to get it. It's right there in the 60. It's right there, folks. That's the Tetragrammaton. That's clear. It's also Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth is 29. I don't want to leave that out because Yaldabaoth and the Yod-Heh are either one and the same character or one's the boss of the other one. Haven't been able to narrow that down. But how about that, folks? Just off this guy's card in the day that the call was made. You go a little bit further and you take the 9-1, which is September 1st, 91, and then you add the 216. If you get out your calculators, folks, 91 plus 216, that's going to give you a total of 307. 307 is not just any number. It's the freaking 63rd prime number going right back to that copper again. And of course, this, copper is tied to the Boaz and Yachin, the Temple of Jerusalem, because that's what the pillars were made up out of. If you haven't seen my decode on Yaldabaoth, haven't seen my decode on Boaz and Yachin, please check them out because it shows how we're just being energetically used for food through our emotions. That's why we're here, folks. And it's all run by this guy right here, or the title, the Puppet Master. I mean, here is Ernest Rankin Fight, his full birth name. I mean, are you kidding me? Seriously? This is why it's such a joke now. It's an absolute joke that these turn out this way. It's funny now. I just chuckle and laugh when I find these things. And you go a little bit further, when you go into this is a little advanced because we get into the binary system, and some of you that decode, you should probably start checking into the binary system and where the numbers fall. Maybe you're already doing that now, but it has a lot of say in all this. And, Puppet Master being 58, you bring that into the string of pi, and 58 occupies 2 digits. It occupies the 10th and the 11th. And of course, if you go watch my decode on the movie The Matrix Decoded, the architect was the number 11 and the Deus Machina, the computer, was the number 10. That was off the original actors, by the way, and their cards and their birthdays. Folks, it's just, the code's completely fixed. And here it is. I mean, this is what we're looking at, the binary, the 10 and 11. It's got the B, of course, the hex numbers if you want to check into that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into great lengths of describing what all this means, but everything has a hex number. What is the B in the shape of? The letter 8. 8 is the infinity symbol, and the decimal's the number 11. 11 is tied to sodium and the salt, and that's all tied to us, folks. Sodium. That's why Jesus said, "Ye are salt of the earth." Exactly. So let's get into the city and state of where this call was made. And here's the city, Haleyville, Alabama. And when you break it down with to me, the 2 main ciphers, you don't even have to go outside of these 2 ciphers, in my opinion, to figure out the world that we live in is completely scripted and rigged. And man's not doing a damn thing other than fulfilling the script. Yeah, sure, you may get to choose what you eat. You may get to choose what time you take your shower, if you want to put a piece of bubble gum in your mouth. But other than that, folks, the major things that happens in your life, you're not in control of those. And I've been proving it over and over, and this should be ironclad proof with this presentation on the 911 Decoded. Haleyville, 111, which is tied to the 1.21 gigawatts, the flash of creation, tied to antimony. Antimony is the all-seeing eye. That's your brain. That's what's using you. And then, of course, that 33. And that's where the city was. And what's really funny is, again, here's Rankin, the guy who made the phone call, and here's Tom Bevel, who accepted the phone call. So this was the connection right here. These 2 guys at the police station. And when you take their birthdays, Tom was born on March 27th and Rankin September 1st. Well, September 1st is the 244th day of the year, and March 27th is the 86th. When you add them up, folks, you're going to get the number 30. Well, 330, sorry, but it's the 33, and it's just really funny. You see what I'm saying, folks? Like, this has nothing to do with being Masonic or Masons, or folks, throw that out the window. That's all junk. That's all just like propaganda garbage. They're being used. So it doesn't matter. That's how deep this code, these people, they ain't picking these people because they're looking at these like this. No way. No way. Man's being used. Here's the breakdown of Haleyville and the coordinates on a map, the latitude, longitude. Most of you know that I love looking at the coordinates of cities and states, and you should know where your birth city is, the hospital you were born in, where you're living right now. You should know what numbers that are linked to it. That's the ley lines across the earth. There's energy centers there, and they bring certain elements to the decoding world when you look at them. Haleyville is 34 degrees north, 87 degrees west, going over to the trusty calculator here to the right-hand side, adding up the entire latitude, longitude. Look at what it gives us. Not just any number, folks. 121.8479. What's 121? That's tied to antimony, the all-seeing eye of Horus. This is what the Royal Society of Chemistry uses for the icon for antimony. Why? Because they used to put antimony sulfide under their eyes as mascara. They do that on the football field. They do the stripes under their eyes. Folks, the whole process still goes on, and I've shown so many times, over and over and over, that this is what runs. This is your brain. And antimony's 111. I mean, you see the sinks, folks. Do you see what great lengths man would have to do? Come on, getting the latitude, longitude right to get it synced up to antimony. Man's not coding this. So here's the state that Haleyville is located in, Alabama, the great state of Alabama. Maybe you live in Alabama, the home of the Crimson Tide. Alabama through the English is a 31, and the mirror of that in the Chaldean is the 13. How about that? That's why these two ciphers, in my opinion, are the two top dogs. I mean, Chaldeans, I think, is the top dog, and then English would be top dog number 2. But there you go, folks. And what's pi? 3.1. This is pi backwards. I mean, the county that Haleyville in is Winston County. Winston is 31, a match of Alabama. County, of course, is tied to the Tetragrammaton. That's loose because there are tons of counties. But, Winston County's 57, and we know that is tied to this movie right there. If you haven't seen my decode on The Truman Show, I'm going to highly suggest you check it out. Even the song Stairway to Heaven equals the number 57. It's just really, folks, it's just funny. It's really, really funny. So let's get into the 216s. It'll be a little bit advanced because I'm going to get into the 3-4-5 triangle. But folks, if you haven't seen it and you don't know about this stuff, you're about ready to find out how important it is. And it's tied, of course. This is the day, February 16th, 216, the day the first 911 call was recorded, the foundational piece, the origination of it. And there is, and the 216 is otherwise known as the divine triangle, and that's why I have it right here. And that is tied to the 47th problem of Euclid. It's 47th for a reason, because 47 is the Tetragrammaton. But it's the 3-4-5, and it gets to the 216, and it's tied to the day this phone call was made, and for good reason. See, when you go a little bit further with this process, you realize, the 216th prime number is this number right there, 1321. So follow along with me here, folks. We're talking about the divine triangle because we're talking about the day that the phone call was made, 216, February 16th. This is the divine triangle right there from that formula. And the 216th prime is the number 1321. When you separate those two, folks, you're going to bring in the tarot to give you a visual of what it means. And of course, this is the 13th card, death. And then this is the 21st card, the world, death of the world. What happens when somebody typically presses 911 on their phone? It's not to call somebody up to invite them to a wedding. I know that. It's not a bar mitzvah they're going to invite you to. They're not asking you to come to their baby shower. It's for freaking emergencies. A lot of people usually die when this number is pressed, or they have already passed. Do you see, folks, how this code could never be controlled by man ever in a million years. Never. Never. There it is. 1321 is the 216th prime. And, this is also tied in the Fibonacci sequence. That is part of the Fibonacci sequence. But folks, this is clearly what the 216 is. And you go further, going back to that graphic of the 3, 4, 5 triangle, the 216, tied to the day this first phone call was made. And when you bring the 216 into the string of pi, it appears at the 991st decimal digit of pi. I'm going to do this on the fly so you can see how this links right back to the tetragrammaton, folks, the 216. So when you go and you look at the 991, it's not just any number, folks. It's the 167th prime number. And you bring it right into the periodic table to get the clue. And the element that holds the 167 is the 68th element called erbium. There's that 167 going right back up, tied to the 991 and tied to the 3, 4, 5 triangle through the string of pi, the 216. Now, why I'm showing that is because erbium, when you go down to the oxidation states and isotopes, here's where you're going to get your clues. Here are the most common ones that are measured in a laboratory. The one that I'm going to show you in particular that has a natural abundance of 22% tied to titanium and has an atomic weight of 47 is this one right there, 166.932. You go right back up here, keep your eyes on the English, and you type in tetragrammaton, and there it is. It's the 166, tied to erbium's atomic mass of 166. Yeah, sure, it's not the 167, but the 167 is inside and tied to this element erbium. And therefore, it's one of the tetragrammaton's elements. And of course, again, it's 22%. What's 22? We go right back and we look at titanium. This is what you do. You look at titanium and look at what titanium's weight is. 47. You go right back and look at tetragrammaton, 47. So folks, I know this is how it works. This is how you decode on more advanced layers. This is how you decode to figure the script out, to figure out that man's not coding this. This is what's running this reality. This entire reality is fixed and rigged and scripted. So just have fun with the code. That's what this is telling you. There is the 3, 4, 5, 40, and of course this is called the 47th problem of Euclid. 47 is tetragrammaton, done on purpose. Square and compass equals 47. I mean, I could go on and on, folks. I have it coming out, my Prison Planet Decode, Puppet Master Decoded. It's all there, folks. Tied to Yaldabaoth, tied to the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, probably one and the same character. But nonetheless, here are the 3, 4, 5 squares in the layers of magic. You have the Saturn square, you have Jupiter square, and then you have Mars square. Mars, of course, is the god of war, the ego. And it's the 3, 4, 5 squares, and there they are. The 47th problem, the 47th problem of Euclid, and there is the divine triangle right there, which is right there. It's right on top of the White House as well. And folks, it's everywhere if you look for it. If you look for it, it's there. And when you take Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, the 3, 4, 5, which of course would be the solar plexus, the heart, and the throat, when you start to bring the chakras into this, look at what it ends up equaling, the number 58. And of course, 58 is Puppet Master. I mean, you want to put a nail in the coffin, there it is. If you say and spell out February 16th, 1968, it's going to give you a total numerology of 58 tied to that Puppet Master. Folks, even the 68, the first phone call was in 1968. You go right back to erbium, folks, and erbium is what element? It's the 68th element. It's right. You can't miss it. Tied to the 167, tied to the 991, which is what we showed with the 216. So how about that? You folks, you can't I couldn't write this up this way. You can't make this stuff up. Stuff is written in the script. First phone call. And this is just the United States. I'm considering, look, because Canada's got a different one. Great Britain's 999. I mean, there's other ones I can look into. I mean, here's another look of the guy who made the phone call, rank and fight, and the guy who accepted the phone call, Tom Bevel. Here are their cards. Tom Bevel, March 27th, 9 of clubs. Of course, I showed Rankins, September 1st, 10 diamonds. Tom Bevel, March 27th. Let's be really transparent. Here we go. March, go all the way down to the 27th. There it is, the 9 clubs. The 9 clubs is the 22nd card in the deck. There it is. So you literally, you have it right there, the 2-2, the 22, and the 36 card, which is the 10 diamonds. So when you take these card numbers, 10 diamonds, let me show you that because I didn't show you that one. 10 diamonds, there it is. Rank and Fights card, 36. When you take these two guys' cards, I mean, you want to talk about more script that it's comical. It's just funny to me now. There's no, what are you going to do with it? Just you laugh at it because the architect is a freaking comedian. But I mean, get out your calculators. What's 36 plus 22? 58. I mean, are you seeing the code, folks? So, again, you look at these two guys, folks, these guys are being used to fulfill this phone call. Among so many other things. I could have decoded their phone. Folks, it just goes so deep. It's crazy. It goes so deep, but it's so comical. And you can clearly see that man's not doing anything but expressing the code. So, folks, what is it you saw during this presentation? This is one of my shorter decodes these days. But I mean, I could have added so much more, but I wanted to get you some content out. I'm going on vacation. Told a lot of you I'm headed to sunny Cancun, Mexico. I'm going there in the 6th of May. So for those of you that are interested in coming out, I'll be there for a week, the 6th to the 13th. But I'm putting this out here. I want to get some content out, folks. What is it you saw during this presentation? Love to hear your thoughts. Obviously, you can see how clear it is now that it's just ridiculous. And we're just fulfilling the script. We're not controlling it. So anyway, folks, that's all I got for today. My name is Logan. This is Decode Your Reality. And I thank each and every one of you for your support, your Patreons, your donations, your contributions. Appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, folks, we will see you later.